Some 25,000 onlookers had turned out on June 30th, 1859, as a flamboyant, mustached Frenchman known as the Great Blondin stepped out onto a 3-inch cord that stretched across roaring Niagara Falls. They were in high spirits, curious to see if the daredevil would become the first person to cross the chasm on a tightrope, or if he would plummet to his death. Either way, it would be a day to remember. Blondin had been born as Jean-François Gravelet and had been an acrobat since childhood, raised in the circus tents of Europe. He knew his craft, and the showman had no doubt he would be successful. It was not bravado. It was merely something he took to be a fact. And as history shows, he not only crossed the 1,500-foot-wide falls without a stumble, but even paused to perform a back somersault on his return trip. The breathless crowd erupted into wild cheers when he set his feet on firm ground. The Great Blondin would cross the gorge 8 times over the next decade, all with theatrical variations, blindfolded, on stilts, but most often trundling a small wheelbarrow. As you can imagine, crowds flocked to see him, and he began to draw loyal devotees. According to accounts, the mob on one summer day was especially boisterous, and they gave him a chorus of hurrahs as he approached, pushing his familiar barrow. He called out, "Do you believe I can cross the falls with this wheelbarrow?" "Yes," they yelled as one. "Wonderful," he said. "Then who will get in?" Many in the crowd laughed, but then they fell silent as they realized he wasn't joking. Blondin waited as the seconds ticked by. They stood, awkward and immobile. There were no takers. Blondin had hoped his fans would believe, as he did, in his infallible prowess on the high wire. They said they did, but they really didn't. Then someone did. Blondin's agent, Harry Colcord, took off his silk top hat and waved it high above his head. He was volunteering. Blondin was greatly moved by the gesture. He actually hadn't intended to wheel anyone across the falls. But Colcord's offer sparked an idea. Instead of pushing his agent then, he returned a few months later and carried Colcord across the falls on his shoulders. An amazing feat, considering the man was only a few pounds lighter than the showman. Let's stop there. While most managers by now understand that their most reliable competitive advantage comes from their people, few of them actually know how to get their people all in, convincing employees to truly buy into their ideas and the strategy they've put forward, to give that extra push that leads to outstanding results. Whether you manage the smallest of teams or a multi-continent organization, you are the proud owner of a culture, and it's important to understand that the effectiveness of that culture will have a big impact on your performance.